With that out of the way, I'd like to invite Dirk Röder onto the stage today for his talk, his orange journey at Deutsche Telekom. Please put your hands together for Dirk.
Wow, this is probably the biggest audience I've ever talked to. Hi, my name is Dirk Röder. I work for Deutsche Telekom MMS. This is a 100% subsidiary of Deutsche Telekom. And I would like to thank Matthias for the opportunity to speak to you and tell you a little bit about my journey, how I orange-pilled an internet giant. So let's begin with me or with you or the individual. While we probably agree on the value proposition of Bitcoin and sound money, we may differ on different topics. So this leads to the conclusion people are vastly different. We are raised differently, we roam in different circles, and we gather different experiences throughout life. Unfortunately, our world became very difficult, or at least it seems that way, and I admit it openly, I'm not able to keep up with everything that happens around me. So, and on top of that, the reality is different because I think debate is broken. And one reason for that is the attack on our self-perception of how things work around us. We are buried under a gigantic wave of information and, unfortunately, I'd like to say misinformation as well. I, again, openly admit I often feel helpless and I also sometimes feel powerless. The tribalism that happens around us doesn't help either. It divides the people in little, merciless groups. And this leads to a world of black and white. And just for entertainment purposes and to make my point a little clearer, I brought you some examples. Yes, even Bitcoiners fall victim to tribalism. With a mixture of fascination and disgust, I watch the fight on Nostr about tweeting on X. So I don't know why the people are getting worked up and condemning double tweeting on X and on Nostr, because how does that relate to the Bitcoin philosophy of freedom, liberty, and live and let live? The media is complicit too, of course. They feed us virtues which supposedly give us moral superiority. We believe our position has more value or is justified because we have higher moral standards than others. Which leads me directly to my last example. The distortion of reality became the new normal. And those three examples are only a tip of the iceberg, what happens around us and with the war on information. And perhaps at this point, this slide, reality is different, makes a lot of more sense because I explained what I mean by it. It is challenging to navigate through all of this. Not only kids seek orientation, I seek orientation on a daily basis. And supposedly, many guys of you as well seek this orientation. And now, because I'm talking about a corporate, imagine you are a corporation, you work in a corporation. There are hundreds of employees, maybe even thousands. At my company, like over 100,000 people work for Deutsche Telekom. We own T-Mobile USA. I guess we're an international audience. Many people don't know Deutsche Telekom. So perhaps they do not share their same values, how the society is supposed to work. Perhaps they have different ideas about right or wrong. But what they all have in common is They all long for human interaction. And by having said this, of course, I'm grateful to all the YouTube creators. Joe Nakamoto was on stage and all the others, the Bitcoin philosophers, the influencers. You did and you do on a daily basis a phenomenal job. You fought various uphill battles against the fraudsters, the haters and the doubters, and thereby you have changed the course of history for the good, and therefore I'm really thankful. But some of you are here because they ask themselves, what can I do? I work in a company, what are the things or the tools you can offer me? And well, let's dive right in. Okay, so I fought my fair share on those platforms, and boy, trust me, I tried everything in the book on that digital interaction, from compassionate and understanding to have fun, staying poor. Everybody knows, I guess, this meme. Of course, I did the letter on my anonymous X account. But yet the best results I had, orange pilling people, was on the personal level. At the bare minimum, you have a relation to that person. And things, since we're talking about corporates, just think about your coworker. Don't be shy to even talk to your boss. Trust me, he is a human being, most of the time. So he hired you because of your skill set. He hired you also because of your character. And this is a great foundation to build on top of it. But please also do not be mistaken. This is not your typical manager. The bigger the company, the bigger the bureaucracy, the higher the ranks, the busier the individual. Like the regular top-ranking executive in a big company, their calendar is organized by third parties, and their whole day is divided into 15-minute slots, often at the cost at health and family. And plus, they are triggered by KPIs because their salary depends on the KPIs. Sometimes those KPIs doesn't even have anything to do with the real world. This is not their fault. I really have to emphasize this. They just play by the rules. And this is the game, and they want to make some money. But having said all this, think about it, how many times you would need to invest as a human being to fully understand the impact on Bitcoin. Is it 100 hours? Is it 200 hours? Or 300 hours? And now think about what I just said about the people. They don't have the time to invest and look at it. So it's on us. We need a plan. Before we go there, or we dive into it, take this advice to heart. I know it sounds trivial, like a meme, but at the end of the day, it describes perfectly what every single one of you who is a Bitcoiner went through. Just imagine your journey down the rabbit hole was a constant challenge of your ego. To admit you were wrong is one of the hardest lessons everyone has to endure in life. And please keep that in mind when you try to orange pill people, especially in the corporate world. The plan is very simple. Understand Bitcoin, whether, I don't know where you are yet, share your enthusiasm, spread the love, and then find a touch point at the company. Some of you might be already Bitcoin experts, others are fairly new and they try to grip get a grip on everything. I feel you at the very beginning. I'm not a technician. I'm a guy from economy. So everything blew my mind, and it was really a hard journey down the rabbit hole. But for those who are fairly new, I brought 2 examples where you can get some information. So there is a glossary. You can scan the QR code. There is the direct link to the glossary. The words we use in Bitcoin on a technical level, and you find good information on that. For the more philosophical approach, you can have another definition of the words we use in Bitcoin. If I'm not mistaken, I saw the legendary Gigi is in the house. At least there is a guy running around in a green suit. He wrote one of this article and many, many other articles. If you like the philosophical part of it, you're really going to love what he's writing. Those are just 2 examples of like a huge ocean of information about Bitcoin. And at this conference, you find so many cool people you can follow on social media and get a grip on everything and an understanding. And you can learn how you can, convince other people. Then we are talking about share your enthusiasm. There are many ways to do that. Just think about the merch online, the memes, or the stickers you buy and you put it on your working computer. Who in the audience was here last year? Okay, some of them. Do you remember this picture? This picture was part of the presentation from Daniel Wingen. He was talking about orange pilling as well, and this was a reference to me. Because this raging Bitcoin bull was my background in Teams from the very beginning when I started at Deutsche Telekom in September 2022. In all meetings, no exceptions. It doesn't matter who was on the call. Top management, headquarters, the C office of Bonn, I didn't care. And trust me, people, humans, are curious. They're going to ask you, what the heck does stack sats mean? Where did you get the picture? Why is the bull on fire? What's the bee on his forehead? And just answer them. Like, for example, say, I'm a Bitcoiner. And watch their reaction. If it's curiosity or perhaps rejection, so you get an idea how to deal with the person later. But please remember, the astronaut, don't oversell it. Rome wasn't built in a day either. You will meet them in another meeting, for lunch, or after work. There are plenty occasions to elaborate further on the topic of Bitcoin. Spread some love. This is a nice one. In many companies, there are so-called betterment programs or trainings. Often, companies say colleagues teach their colleagues about a topic. Just, talk to the organizer, reserve yourself a spot, and make a presentation about Bitcoin. If you're not confident or if you don't like to, be on the spot, ask a colleague, ask a friend, call me. Just the other day, I held a presentation about Bitcoin and human rights at the head office of Siemens in Munich. And they have those technical innovation talks like regularly on Fridays over pizza. So they invite the company and they come there, they spend the pizza, and then they have someone who is, spreading some love. In this particular case, I was spreading the love of Bitcoin. At my own company, at Deutsche Telekom, we have something called Lex Session. Basically, it's a training program. Everyone who's passionate about something, it could be a technology, it could be related to mobile phone or DSL or fiber, whatever. You can reserve yourself a spot. And we held 2 Bitcoin basic keynotes there. It was well received. People asked questions. Almost the Q&A afterwards was longer than the actual presentation. But that's cool. People, as I said, are very curious. In 2023, my team prepared the famous bubblegum machine, you know, like where you try to get some chocolate out of like a box. And we prepared it with a Lightning framework so that you can pay with Lightning and get some bubblegums out there. And we set a little stand on an innovation day of our company. And we had colleagues, managers, top managers, like behaving like little kids, you know, playing on this thing. And they paid with 42 sats or something, and they started the machine. And they were baffled because they experienced firsthand how freaking fast Lightning is. Some of them even doubted that this is real. They were looking for cables, how we faked it. So this is how you can convince people, like super simple. I think this thing costs like 50 euros in an online store, and you need someone who's a little bit, you know, tech savvy, and you can make it run. By the way, at this point, shout out to everybody who made music that day, because I published the invoice QR code on LinkedIn, and some people from LinkedIn just, you know, spread some love and they sent some sats. And all of a sudden, the machine started playing music, and we had a lot of fun. We will always remember that day. It was really awesome. Thank you for spending some of your precious sats for the fun we had. But sometimes you go too far. Funny thing, though, it wasn't my passion for Bitcoin that got me almost in really big trouble. It was my thought about day-to-day politics on the podcast with Nico. And afterwards, I got a lot of phone calls. And we needed, let's say it was challenging. So bottom line is, be careful, tread carefully, and choose your battles wisely. Then the last part of the plan is like to identify a touch point. And this chapter is the toughest because it may not apply to your job role, and you need to weigh the pros and cons meticulously if you want to do it. And the most obvious one, added to the balance sheet, is unfortunately the most complicated one. Although Deutsche Telekom is actively engaged in the Web3 business since 2021, we do not own any tokens on our balance sheet. I know there is no law preventing us from doing so, but trust me, big corporates flinch at the idea of putting something on the balance sheet. But there are other ideas. Let's say Bitcoin Lightning. You own or you run a shop. Why not offer Bitcoin Lightning as a payment? We are looking in this area as well because, as I said, we are providing infrastructure, and we are having a hard look if we as Deutsche Telekom can play a role in that business. So the key takeaways are people are curious, take it to your advantage. There are many, many opportunities in the corporate world where you can share your enthusiasm or you can educate people. And the worst thing that can happen is you plant the seed for another Bitcoiner. What I cannot emphasize enough, please be patient to your fellow workers. Give them time. And even accept we cannot save them all. Thank you very much for your attention. You can reach me on X. And of course on Noster. And if you like to write emails, you can use this email. Yes, it actually works. And this was my last speech on a conference for foreseeable future. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And I have one more thing, I like to share with you. True story. When I was interviewed, I know I'm unfortunately over time, but I'm really making this quick. When I was interviewed for Deutsche Telekom in July 2022, the interviewer, they said, okay, you're taking over the Web3 infrastructure team. How should they evolve in the near future? I grew a pair, and I said, Bitcoin mining. And they said, you're not allowed to use that word Bitcoin in this interview if you want to get hired. Since 2023, as Joe already said, we are running a Bitcoin node, and we are running Bitcoin Lightning nodes as well. And with a chest full of fucking pride, I like to let you in a little secret. We will engage in digital monetary photosynthesis soon. Thank you very much.
Dirk, come back. I want to double check what you just announced there. What does that mean in layman's terms? What is Deutsche Telekom, T-Mobile, what are you doing? What is that last phrase, one more time?
Digital monetary photosynthesis.
So is T-Mobile mining Bitcoin?
We will.
You will. Okay, that is phenomenal. Wow. Thank you, Dirk.